Have you ever felt a silent shift in the air before a storm hits? In the world of modern relationships, most departures do not happen with a sudden bang. Instead, they begin with a calculated, quiet architecture of exit. When a woman prepares to leave, she rarely offers a direct confession. Instead, she begins to plant breadcrumbs of tension, subtly engineering a narrative where you are the villain. This is the art of the reaction trap. The ultimate goal is simple yet devastating: to provoke you into a visible explosion. If you lose your composure, you unknowingly hand her the perfect justification to walk away as the misunderstood victim. We must realize that true power in these moments is not found in discovering hidden evidence or winning an argument. It resides entirely in your ability to control your response. Ask yourself this: are you reacting to the chaos she presents, or are you observing the pattern behind it? The trap is never about the infidelity or the secrets themselves. It is about how you handle the revelation. To survive this transition with your dignity intact, you must learn to see the game before you play it. Silence is not weakness. It is the ultimate shield of a grounded man. Part 1. Creating psychological triggers. The first stage of this silent exit strategy begins with a subtle yet deliberate shift in her digital behavior. You might find yourself sitting on the couch next to her, yet feeling miles apart. She starts texting late into the night, her face illuminated by the cold glow of a screen, while a faint, unexplained smile plays on her lips. Sometimes she will position her phone just enough for you to catch a glimpse of a notification, only to tilt it away the moment you look. This is not an accident. This is a calculated provocation known as a reaction trap. By displaying these breadcrumbs of secrecy without offering any explanation, she is testing your emotional discipline and measuring your level of control. Her objective here is to incite a confrontation. She wants you to reach a breaking point where you demand to see her messages or question her loyalty with a raised voice. If you succumb to this impulse and react with harshness, she instantly flips the script. You are no longer a concerned partner. You are now labeled as controlling, unstable, or even emotionally abusive. This label becomes the first brick in the wall she is building to justify her departure. In the eyes of a modern woman seeking an out, your loss of composure is her greatest asset. It allows her to shift the moral burden of the breakup onto your shoulders. Remember, the true battle is not about what is on that screen, but whether you can remain an unshakable observer in the face of intentional disrespect. Part 2. Altering the social ecosystem. As the internal bond begins to fray, the next phase of her departure moves from the private digital world into the public sphere. You will notice a subtle but systematic restructuring of her social life. Suddenly, the shared circles and couple-centered gatherings that once defined your weekends are replaced by an increasing devotion to single friends or new acquaintances. This is not a mere desire for more social time. It is a calculated effort to isolate the relationship from any witnesses of your shared history. She is essentially building a new life where you no longer exist as a central character. Invitations that used to include both of you are now met with vague excuses or outright exclusion. She starts curating a private world where she can narrate a new story about herself and her unhappiness without anyone questioning the facts. In these new environments, she is free to frame the relationship in a negative light to sympathetic ears who do not know your side of the story. This social distancing serves a dual purpose. It prepares her support network for the upcoming split and ensures that when the end finally comes, she has a safe landing spot far away from your influence. For a man of high character, witnessing this shift is painful, but it is also a vital piece of information. When her world begins to shrink and exclude you, it is a clear signal that she has already checked out emotionally. Do not chase the ghost of the social life you once had. Instead, observe the cold reality of the new one she is constructing. Part 3. Calculated leaks and controlled exposure. In this stage, the secrecy of the early days begins to transform into a strange, almost intentional carelessness. You might notice her phone is no longer hidden, but left faced up on the table, with notifications flashing brightly for you to see. Names of unfamiliar men might start appearing in casual conversation, mentioned with just enough frequency to spark a flicker of doubt in your mind. This is what we call a controlled leak. It is a psychological maneuver designed to shift the burden of discovery onto your shoulders. She has reached a point where she no longer wishes to carry the weight of her own choices, so she provides you with the clues necessary to confront her. By making her indiscretions obvious, she is inviting you to start the final argument. If you take the bait and react with anger or accusation, she successfully transfers the guilt. Suddenly, the focus is no longer on her actions, but on your reaction to them. This tactic allows her to avoid the heavy responsibility of a direct confession while making you feel like the person who broke the peace. A man of high value must recognize this for what it is, an exit invitation. When the red flags are being waved directly in your face, it is not an accident of fate. It is a test of your emotional fortitude. She is looking for an explosion to justify her departure, but your greatest strength lies in seeing the pattern and refusing to give her the chaos she seeks.
Part 4. Systematic provocation and blame. As the exit strategy nears its final stages, the atmosphere in your home begins to shift from cold indifference to active hostility. This is the phase of systematic provocation. You will notice that small, insignificant habits that were once tolerated or even loved have suddenly become sources of intense irritation for her. The way you speak, the way you work, or even the way you breathe becomes a target for criticism. She is no longer looking for harmony. She is building a dossier of your flaws. Every minor disagreement is intentionally blown out of proportion to create a mountain of resentment. The purpose of this behavior is deeply psychological. It is the repositioning of guilt. If she can convince herself that you are the sole source of her unhappiness, then her decision to leave becomes a rational act of self-preservation rather than a betrayal of the relationship. She is effectively rewriting the history of your time together, painting you as a villain in her new narrative. This constant friction is designed to wear you down until you finally snap. When you react with frustration or anger, she gains the final piece of evidence she needs to justify her departure to herself and to the world. A man of true character understands that this storm is not about his worth, but about her need to feel blameless. By maintaining your composure during these waves of irrational blame, you deny her the moral high ground she is so desperately trying to seize.
Part 5. The collapse of respect and superficial lies. As the final curtain begins to fall, the most chilling shift occurs in the way she communicates. The elaborate deceptions of the past are replaced by something far more damaging: superficial lies. You will notice significant holes in her stories, obvious contradictions in her timeline, and a blatant disregard for logic. Yet, the most telling sign is that she no longer puts in the effort to cover her tracks. When you point out an inconsistency, she might offer a shrug or a thin excuse that even a child would find unbelievable. This is the ultimate signal of a total collapse in respect. She no longer values your opinion or your intelligence enough to maintain a convincing facade. At this stage, she is essentially inviting you to catch her in a lie. These gaps in her narrative are deliberate provocations, designed to trigger the final confrontation she has been orchestrating from the beginning. She is no longer invested in the survival of the bond, and she views the truth as a burden she is ready to discard. By offering these transparent falsehoods, she is testing whether you will still cling to the illusion or finally break under the weight of the disrespect. For a man of stoic discipline, recognizing this lack of effort is a profound realization. It is the moment you understand that the woman you knew has already left, and the person standing before you is simply waiting for you to open the exit door. Your silence in the face of these hollow lies is your most powerful statement of self-worth.
The final battle in any relationship is never about her actions. It is entirely about your reaction. Do not allow your anger to become the exit door she has been searching for. When you recognize these patterns, your greatest weapon is not a loud confrontation, but a profound and steady silence. Within the next 24 hours, if you feel the urge to explode or demand answers, take a deep breath. Observe the situation with the stillness of a mountain. True power lies in your ability to remain unshakable while the world around you shifts.
You are not responsible for the choices of someone who lacks the integrity to leave with honesty. However, you are completely responsible for how you stand your ground when your character is being tested. Do not let her chaos dictate your peace. By choosing composure over conflict, you preserve your dignity and reclaim your future. Walk away with your head held high, knowing that while you could not control the storm, you mastered the ship.